Hello, welcome to another edition of the. Let me tell you. Hello, welcome to another edition of the Shape Up. I'm here today with Mr. Kenny Boyd. Kenny Boyd works for the Jefferson County Public School System as an administrative consultant, administrative assistant. Excuse me, as an administrative assistant. Works with kids. He's gives a lot back to the community, and he's got a very interesting story to share. You're from Nashville, Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Kenny's gonna tell us. Can you tell us how you got from Nashville, Tennessee to Louisville, Kentucky?
Yeah. Mark, I want to first appreciate you and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share on this live.
Welcome. Definitely.
And like he said, I work for the Board of Education. As administrator. Never in my life thought that I'd be in the position that I'm in. Because, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. Never in my life planned to come to Louisville, Kentucky. And I ended up here in 1989, not by coming to see my family or nothing like that, but just to escape my reality that I was suffering in Tennessee. I grew up in a world where I lived in the inner city. I grew up with 6 brothers, 2 sisters, and a mama. And I had a lot of frustration and resentment going on within because we was poor. I wanted to be like the other kids in the neighborhood. So for whatever reason, they had the good things and we didn't. And so one day in my mind that I used to get up in the morning on Saturdays and go wash cars at the car wash. And I met this guy who liked me, And he was a guy that I looked up to because he had a big car. He had a 98 green Monte Carlo, and he was the man.
Yeah, you liked that guy.
And then
remember that guy.
I never forget it. And then I remember one day he said to me, "Hey, little nigga, you want to get paid?" Mm. And right then, it just something in my mind, made me smile. Cause I already knew what he was doing. And next thing you know, I got that sack. Please understand, at an early age in my life, my whole identity changed because, I was a kid that grew up with the name Kenneth Lorenzo Boyd, but once I stepped off that block, my whole identity changed. I became Kenny B.
Kenny B.
Kenny B. And I built that name up. You see what I'm saying? In the neighborhood, everybody knew Kenny B. Because now, I'm not the one that walking around with the BB buddies. I'm not the one with the buck tooth. I'm not the one with the beater head. Now I got on some Converses. Now I got on some blue jeans. Mm-hmm. Now I got on a T-shirt. I got a gold tooth put in my mouth. Yeah, you fly. And I got a Jerry curl.
Yeah, you fly.
All of a sudden, life changed for me. My identity changed, And I jumped off that porch for a long time. Because it was exciting at the beginning, but it got real dark at the end. Real dark. I don't know, what it's like to get dark. You see what I'm saying? Where everything that you work so hard to build, you lose it all. You know what I mean? And so what happened in that process, I never forget. And I was sharing with a young man today because that's what I do today. I've been blessed, for my life, for transformation. I give back what was so freely given to me. I share with this young man today. I said, whatever you do, young man, listen to your mother. Because my mama used to tell me things that I used to say, okay, whatever, and don't do it. And today, I live long enough to remember all the things that my mama used to tell me, don't do. Don't hang around him. He ain't no good for you. But that was my best friend. But he crossed me in the streets. So I just want to share with you my journey, what it was like before I ended up in Louisville, Kentucky. And it was in June of 1989. June of 1989, I woke up from under the Barbershop in Nashville, Tennessee. I was tired. Now, remember, I told y'all that early in my life, I created an image. I thought I had the world in my hand. I was making money. But at the end, I was that one that I was laughing at. I was that one I was talking about. I was the one that I said I'd never want to be like. But I became that person. I became that person strung out on drugs. And the good news about me, I'm free. I don't know what it's like to be free, where you don't mind to talk about where you been. Not worrying about what you gonna say about me because I'm free. When you find that freedom within, you're able to expose who you really was. And so that's my journey, So I became that individual. I woke up, I jumped in an 18-wheeler truck, not knowing where I was headed at. Didn't have no idea. And I woke up out of Bernard. And I seen a sign that say downtown Louisville. I reached over and pat him on his shoulder and said, hey man, You can let me out right here. I jumped out of that truck. From 1989 to 1994, I walked around Louisville, Kentucky with nothing and nobody. And I was ashamed to call my mama and tell my family where I was at. You know what I mean? Because see, I was that guy at the top, but now I'm at the bottom. Homeless, broke, penniless, and strung out on drugs. You know what I mean? And I ended up in Louisville, Kentucky. You know what I mean? In July 18, 1994, I met a friend. I met this guy named Bill Stone. He was a black man, worked for MSD. You know what I mean? He met me at the Healing Place. We were having a Christmas party for homeless men at the Urban League, and he became my mentor. You know what I mean? He became that person I was looking for a long time, that man in my life to show me how to be a man. Because see, the niggas that I grew up with in the street, they didn't show me how to be a man. They showed me how to get money. They didn't tell me, Kenny, it's okay to cry. They didn't tell me, Kenny, it's okay to say no. They didn't tell me that. They just told me, get that money. You know what I mean? So I met Bill Stone. He became my mentor. He guided me. He directed me. He showed me a whole lot about life. And then he encouraged me to go to school. He said, Kenny, go get your education, man. I was 30 years old because he at 16, 17 years old, I got put out of school. You know what I mean? In Nashville, Tennessee, you know what I mean? School wasn't on my mind at the time. But I say to these young men today that I work with, get your education. Don't be like me. You feel me? And so at 30 years old, I went to school. I didn't get my GED. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but I got my high school diploma. You see what I'm saying? From my high school diploma, I got my first college degree. And I never forget that day, I'm sitting in Bill's office, you know what I mean? And he asked me, Kenny, what do you want to do with your life? And something inside of me said that I want to be able to give back. I want to work with that little boy who going through that same struggle that I once was in. Mm-hmm. That's how I began who I am. That's how I started doing the work I did because, see, I wanted to be able to give back. You know what I mean? Because, see, I started working at Beach of Terrorists, at the YMCA, down in the basement, at the youth program. Then I went from Beach of Terrorists to Baxter Community Center. Next thing you know, this guy helped me write my own ticket to life. I wrote a program called Youth Alive. That program was all about reaching the unreachable, reaching people in the community, young males, 10 to 15 years old. You know what I mean? I started with 7 young men, and I ended up for 10 years. Just imagine how many kids, because it became a co-ed program. You see what I'm saying? And you know, Mark, I just want to share, man, it's just, my journey was so real. You know what I mean, man?
You know, I've known you for a number of years now, and you know, it's probably been over a decade now that we've been acquaintances. And a lot of times you've come in here to get haircuts, come here to speak to me or whatever, and there's never not a time where there's someone that didn't know you when you came up in here. A lot of times there were, you know, young men now in their early 20s, late teens, but it seemed like the whole city knew who you were, knows who you are by either going through your program, being associated with someone that has gone through your programs and stuff like that. And I see the respect that they give you when you come through here. And, you know, it's a lot of love. You know, I've never heard a bad thing about you. And then the kids, you know what I'm saying? They've all seem like they got something from you. You know, I'm a barber, so I cut their hair. You know, you've counseled them and have done work with them and building them as young men and young adults and stuff like that. And some of those students, I've seen the progress that is directly related to you. So I definitely wanted you to be able to come in here and share your story. And I didn't mean to cut you short because I know it's more to it. But go ahead and continue talking about the youth programs and stuff that you had with Youth Alive. You said you started with 7 and over 10 years. How many people had you?
You know, when I take a look at that, Mark, man, and you know what I mean, when I started with like I said, you know, it was 7 young men, you know what I mean, started right there at 10th and Chestnut, the YMCA down in the basement. It was 7 young boys, you know what I mean, and by the time Youth Alive came to existence in December the 15th, 2008, based on a tragedy that happened in this community, you know, I said over, you know what I mean, thousands of young kids came through the doors. It went from all males to co-ed. You see what I'm saying?
So how did that get wind like that? I mean, how do you go from 7 to over 1,000 throughout a 10-year period of time? I mean, how does that build and grow? I mean, is it due to the program that you came up with?
And was kids telling other kids. It was reputation. It was kids telling other kids, you know what I mean, hey, y'all, you know what I mean, let's go to Youth Alive with Mr. Kenny. He's a cool dude. You know what I mean? Because I was able to, you know what I mean, not judge them based on who they was, because I understand they struggles of life.
So what did Youth Alive do? What would you do with the kids?
Youth Alive was an after-school educational program. You know what I mean? We taught them 7 principles. The program was based around 7 principles, and where them 7 principles come from was them principles that I didn't have as a kid growing up. You know what I mean? When you think about a self-respect, I didn't have no self-respect for nobody, not even myself when I was a kid growing up. I didn't have no leadership skill. I thought I was a leader, but my mama used to tell me all the time, kid, you ain't no but a follower. I didn't have no empathy. Empathy means being able to look at, not judge no one else based on your condition. You know what I mean? Didn't have no empathy for nobody. You know what I mean? It wasn't about community. It was a community, not building the community. It was all about tearing the community down. I didn't have no type of integrity. You know what I mean? I didn't been able to stand for nothing. You know what I mean? I fell for whatever. You see what I'm saying? You know, I'm talking about, and them the discipline. The only discipline that I had as a kid growing up is when I got locked up, when they tell me when to go to sleep, when to eat, what to do, when I can talk on the phone. You know what I mean? So those 7 principles came based on my own personal life. You know what I mean? From a program called Rites of Passage. Rites of Passage is a 6 spiritual principle program. I took them principles and I changed them into my own direction of life. You see what I'm saying? I wrote my own ticket, you know what I mean? And with that said, you know what I mean? We had an after educational program. I took kids on college tours. You know what I mean? I took them out of their comfort zone. You know what I mean? That from Louisville, Kentucky to Atlanta to Washington, D.C., you know what I mean? Things that these kids never thought they're going to go to. You know what I mean? And so it was a educational tutoring program, mentoring program, you know what I mean? And it was 5 days a week. You know what I mean? We fed them, we tutored them, we went and visited them at their schools. You know what I mean? We gave them that love that they were searching for, and they respected it. You know what I mean? And so that's what it was all about. And you know, and then it was in December the 15th, 2008. A tragedy hit this city. You know what I mean? And that's when the things fell apart. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I walked through it. I walked through it. It was a hard moment of my life. You know what I mean? I didn't know what I was going to do.
So for those that don't really know, they're not going to exactly know what the tragedy was unless you speak on it. I know it's something that's, you know, probably hard to talk about, or still is hard to talk about.
Yes.
But just share with them the tragedy that happened. With
it was a high-speed
couple
chase.
Of members in your youth program.
It was a high-speed chase where a young man was driving a car, and so happened 4 of the kids was in the car with him, and the police was chasing this car, and his car hit a tree, and these 4 little boys died.
I remember that.
You feel me? And it was the coldest day of my life. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? To be able to identify these young men.
You knew all those.
All these kids.
You had to identify them.
You know, I had to identify all these kids. You know what I mean? My life just fell apart. I didn't know what direction I was going to go. I was hurt, and I wanted to run. I mean, some part of me wanted to go back home. Then it's time for me to go back to Nashville. But I knew that if me going back to Nashville, how vulnerable I was, it wasn't a good spot for me to do. So I had to go through this city of Louisville, in the malls, in Kroger's, in the barbershops, and listen to these motherfuckers, excuse my French, whisper. They know what they were talking about, judging me. You mean talking bad about me based on a situation I ain't had no power over.
Right.
But I had to walk through it.
And their complaint was what?
Well, they didn't have no complaint. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, they needed to point the finger at something and somebody. And by me being the face of the organization, you feel me? I had to be the one to take the blame. And I had to take that blame and just walk with it. I had to be able to walk through it. And you know what's so deep about it, man? When you don't fold and when you don't break, you get stronger.
Absolutely.
And you know, and then what happened in the midst of that, when that tragedy happened, I went back to school. And as I was going to school, I worked on another degree. I needed something to occupy my mind, Mar. I was about to go crazy. And I knew I couldn't go home because I didn't want to be in Tennessee at the time. I already knew what was down there waiting on me.
But you still stayed clean?
I stayed, you know what I mean? I do what I do. I didn't
sober?
use. You know what I mean? Because I just kept doing it. And then what happened, I got a phone call from the Board of Education. Now, just think about this, y'all. If y'all missed it, they put me out of school. You feel me? Education went on my mind. Never thought, you know what I mean? I didn't like school. But 20 years down the road, I get a phone call from the Board of Education. You know what I mean? Somebody that I knew said, "Can I apply for this position?" Administrator. Remember now, you know what I mean? I'm that, you know, that individual. You know what I mean? And I get a phone call.
You're the one that they didn't want into school.
You feel me? I'm the one that they put out of school. I'm the one that they said wasn't gonna be nothing. I'm the one that they said that we're gonna die in the penitentiary or die in the streets. But I get that phone call, and they told me to apply for this position as an administrator. And it was so funny, Mark. I promise you, man. It was so many people apply for this one position. I applied for it. Fuck it. You see what I'm saying? And didn't even have no thought that I was gonna get it. I just applied because somebody believed in me.
Yeah, but you had a couple degrees at this time,
Right?
stuff, right?
Right.
Right.
And when they was going down the list from 50 to 30, from 30 to 15, to 15 to 5, from 5 to 3, and then I get a phone call. H&R called me and said, "Mr. Boyd, we'd like to know, could you be here at 2 o'clock?" You ought to seen me, Mark. I was happy.
What time did you get there?
Shit, I was there about 1:45. I ran home, changed clothes, put on my nice little outfit, walked in there. See, my mind told me they was gonna tell me what I'd done wrong not to get the position.
You still didn't think you had the job when it came.
Still didn't think. And then they told me, what they say, "We want to know, would you like to accept this position?" They gave me 3 days to 5 days to let them know. They didn't even realize that I accepted when I was sitting in the chair talking to them. You mean, in this process, I went home and I was telling my wife.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Remember now, I came here with nothing and nobody. Now I'm married. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Now I ain't in the bushes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I got a home.
At home.
You feel me?
Got a career.
You know what I mean? I got a career. I started from the bottom.
So what did you do different that made all these changes occur?
I changed. I hate to say it, and they tell you all the time, you got to change people, places, and things. You see what I'm saying? Because everybody, you remember, you know when Mama told you, boy, you need to stay away from him?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the thing Mama told you, and you said okay, and you did it anyway? I listened, I heard what Mama was telling me then, I did it now. You see what I'm saying? About making that transformation in my life, things start opening up for me. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I had an opportunity to go to Africa. You see what I'm saying? To be able to speak to a whole bunch of kids and stay in Africa. Do you know what it's like? You know what I mean? From a nigga from the bottom, you know what I mean? From the hood, you know what I mean? From the streets, you know what I mean? Was in that A-block Raiders that you never thought you gonna get out of. You know what I mean? I don't know, you know what an A-block Raiders is. It's that neighborhood that you grew up in, that you didn't never step out. You know what I mean? You just stayed there. Everybody knew you.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know, all the people that you knew was the ones on that side of the project and the other side of the project. You didn't know nobody out in West Nashville, you know what I mean? Because you were stuck in that 8-block radius. But I remember going to Africa, jumping out, getting off that airplane, touching the ground. All I wanted to do was touch the dirt. You feel me? You know what I mean, man?
Mm.
We talking about things that happened along this journey of my life. You know what I mean? And I say all this to share with anybody that's out there listening. Don't give up 5 minutes for the miracle. Whatever you may be going through in life, I mean, there is hope. You can be whatever you want to be. Don't let nothing and nobody make you feel like you don't count. Don't allow your past to hold you back from your future. You see what I'm saying? Don't get trapped into who you was. Because that shit who you was is over and done with. It's a whole new phase of life now. You see what I'm saying? Just keep moving. That's where I'm at. You see what I'm saying? I'm steady more moving. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I got a career. Don't you just think about it? Just think about it. You know what I mean? I didn't in my life. I got a 401k. That shit don't mean nothing to you, but that shit excites me because I didn't even know what that was growing up.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Shit, I'm excited. Pretty soon I'm gonna be able to retire. You know what I mean? Because I didn't think that wasn't my thinking growing up. You see what I'm saying? Because I didn't have no one to show me, to teach me how to go to work, get your education, save money, get your, you know what I mean, get your driver license. Shit, I didn't get my license until I was about 40 or 30 something years old. And I thought it was okay to drive with no license. I did. I just jumped in the car and drove.
Yeah.
They took me to jail. I got out. You know what I mean? But you know, Mark, it just, you know what I mean, it's real, man. And my message to that individual or whoever sitting out there, whoever just hearing me, you know what I mean, please don't judge me. Just listen to what the message is. And the message is hope. It's HOPE, hope, that you can be whatever you want to be. It's real, man. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And I have had the privilege to travel across the world to tell everybody about who I am.
Man, I definitely appreciate you from stopping by here today and telling everybody who you are, man.
I appreciate you, Mark, for allowing me to just be here, just to chop it up with y'all. You know what I mean? And I'm just who I am, man, and I'm blessed.
Appreciate you, man. Love you, man.
Appreciate you. All right.